Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. Today, we are going to be reviewing crisis management. Now, I know a lot of you, when you think of crisis, you may think of an intruder. However, there are a lot of different rhetorical scenarios that can be considered a crisis. And the best way to deal with it is planning ahead and knowing how to actually resolve the problem and communicate through the problem. So today is going to help you prepare for following the SRP, which is the Standard Response Protocol, and making sure that we're staying in alignment to our EOP, which simply put is our emergency plan when we are tackling these crisis scenarios. So I'm going to be talking about a couple different scenarios today that you'll see here. We have the fire, which of course we know how fire drills work, intruder, tornado, shooter on campus, and the loss of electricity. These are not the only campus crisis that could happen. However, these are typically our top five here. Um, the most frequent that we see is fire. So underneath each scenario that I provided for you, I've also included the SRP term. This is a specific term that you guys see posted around campus on all of our emergency procedures, as well as the sticker I provided you on the back of your name tag. I wish I had one here to show you, but we have provided stickers for the back of your name tag as a quick kind of as a quick reference for you to be able to refresh yourself on not only the terms that we include, but what that actually means for you to do. And so for evacuate, we know that how to resolve this. One of us, as the administration, would either appoint a staff member or ourselves sound the fire alarm, and we would call for the evacuate drill. Now, a lot of times we call for the evacuate drill using the intercom. However, a lot of times we also use our E3 app, which is our safety communications app. Now, as you all know, you must use the posted routes and the designated areas. If you are not familiar with your route or designated area, please refer to the maps that we have posted in each and every classroom that indicates the path you need to take. Attendance is going to be taken using the emergency app. Now, what we do not want is a lot of messages within the app, because what that does is it creates more chaos in the moment for administration to have to look at and to have to deal with. The only thing we need to know is if you are safe or if you are missing a student. And so you can indicate your basically your status, your safety status on the E3 app. And then if you do have any students that are in other services, they will write it there. So for example, let's say I have little Tommy and Tommy is in dyslexia. The dyslexia specialist will be responsible for writing in the chat. Tommy is with me from fourth grade, Ms. Venus's class. Then we will have an appointed individual calling the fire department. That will be one of the individuals on the administration. Most often, it's the safety coordinator, the safety officer. And then, of course, after we do that, we will be sending out a follow-up message through our district notification system, which currently is Evlio. We will already have those prepared before the school year even begins. So that way, if we do have a fire, possibly they will get a follow-up message. Now, in rare cases and more severe cases, we will have to collaborate with Austin Fire Department to ensure that they are also releasing a statement regarding the crisis. Now, again, this is all about preparation. Emergency scenarios and crises, as we know, are best resolved by preparing beforehand. And so we're going to make sure that we have those monthly fire drills for consistent practice. Listen, I've been a teacher, been there, done that. I know it can be annoying. However, it is needed and it is necessary, not only for staff, but more even importantly for students to truly understand how to respond in those scenarios. Of course, we have the evacuation maps that I already previously spoke about. You have the SRP terms on the back of your badge that I have provided for you. And then, of course, we're going to ensure that all fire alarms and extinguishers are inspected regularly to make sure that they work. So, of course, we might have the Austin Fire Department become a key stakeholder in this event, especially if it is more severe. Of course, our safety coordinator, and then the front office staff will help with communications as well. So, moving on to an intruder. Now, intruders could kind of act in two different ways. So, we could have intruders that are already on our campus or intruders that are outside of our campus trying to enter our campus. So, depending on the scenario that we have, we will use the SRP code secure, or we will use lockdown. Secure will be if it is an outside source, such as somebody on the outside of our electronic gate, or somebody trying to get into the front office that is not permitted to do so. Or we will have a lockdown drill, depending again on the location of the intruder. Now, this is a very important drill. I'm not going to say it's the most important, but it is incredibly important that we know these EOP procedures on the back of our hand. And we want to make sure that we do not move, that students and staff, as much as we trust you, do not move until you hear an all clear from PD or admin. I assure you that this is not for lack of trust, but wanting to ensure that you are safe, because that is what is most important to us. So we're going to announce the SRP code over intercom, so you will hear either secure or lockdown. Now, again, because of the intruder status, most likely we're going to send out an E3 alert rather than using the intercom. We might use the intercom if it is an outside source. However, because if we have an intruder inside of our campus, we don't want to involve them in our protocol. Of course, we don't want to give them any idea that we may be going through procedures. We don't want to give them that information. We want to make sure that we are staying completely separate. And so for that fact, we will probably send out the silent alert through your E3 app. The front office and the admin are going to contact the security officer. So our security officer and our police officers will be on standby and waiting to help. Of course, if we have an intruder that is on the inside of our campus already, we will already contact APD at the local police station down the road and make sure that they are sending officers our way to assist with that. Now, again, please make sure that you have students away, that they are nowhere in sight. Please stay away from windows. Please turn off all lights and make sure the students are silent. I know that this can be a very tense situation, and I know that a lot of people might want to, also be there to emotionally support the children. But I think that the best thing that we can do in our case is to stay as silent as possible. Me, myself, as well as the superintendent, we will collaborate on parent communication that has already been predetermined, as I've mentioned before. So please make sure that you do not correspond or communicate with any parents or outside sources. Please let us do that so we make sure that the communication is consistent and accurate. And that way you're not getting involved in anything that you don't need to be involved in. So before this may happen, we do a lot on our end to make sure that these processes can be smooth and that we can follow the procedure as followed. So we're going to make sure that we, of course, like the fire drills, have consistent drills that we're using. We will be working with maintenance staff consistently to ensure that all doors have working locks, and that's on a day-to-day basis. So please let us know immediately if you do notice any concern with your door and how it may function, if it doesn't lock all the way. We will also be working with the front office to make sure that we are enforcing visitor sign-in and the use of badges. We know that this can be a little bit of a tedious process at times and that we get a little bit of pushback from frequent visitors. However, it is so important that we are reinforcing and maintaining this procedure to make sure that you and our students are safe. And then, of course, we're going to provide that annual training. This is going to be part of that training for you guys, just to make sure that you are not only familiar and comfortable with using the different SRP terms that we have, but that you also know the different procedures and steps that we take as well to ensure your safety. Because I know that that's something a little bit hard to understand, is the things that are out of our control, right? The things that other people are responsible for. So I want to ensure you that we are also taking our own precautionary steps to make sure you're safe. And of course, a lot of people play parts in this role. You know, we have the safety coordinator, the police department, the campus administration, the front office staff, and our security officer. Please know that this is extremely structured and that everybody has a role in this crisis scenario. So there is a specific person that's appointed to call the police. There's a specific person that's sending out the notification on the app. We have a way that this works. And if you would like to give any input in that, again, I am always open to input. My email is open to you if you would like to share any input, but we do have a structure behind that I assure you is quite tightly woven. So next we have our tornado drill, and the SRP term for that is shelter. So when we say to take shelter, that means that there is a tornado or some kind of weather force on the outside that we need to protect ourselves from. And so, of course, as you all know, we need to make sure that we're moving staff and students to interior rooms away from windows. So that means, yes, all of my portables teachers, it is incredibly imperative that you know where your location is interior into the building. I highly recommend that you actually take the sticker that we put on the back of your badges and write down the location if you're having a hard time remembering, just as a quick reference in that moment. Because again, you know, emotions are running high, you may be getting nervous. So it's understood that, you know, humans make mistakes and we may not remember that. Please make sure that you are aware of where you and your students need to go. Now, again, moving quickly and quietly is absolutely imperative to their safety. When we call that shelter drill, we mean it. We mean let's stay quiet, let's move, and let's move quickly. And then, of course, make sure that you do not leave your space until we call an all clear. So, how we communicate that is I'm going to call the SRP code over the intercom if possible, depending on our location. The front office may also assist me with this. Now, somebody on the administration team is also going to send out that E3 alert that you will get immediately to your phone. Please make sure that you have the E3 app downloaded on your phone as well as on your desktop. So not only will you get phone alerts, but you will get desktop alerts in case that your phone is misplaced or not charged, you know, just to have a backup. The administration is going to be responsible for monitoring the weather alerts, and we will keep you as updated as possible, most likely through our staff Google chat. And then, of course, we're going to notify the families through our notification system, which is Edlio. Now, before the crisis, we're going to ensure that all the shelter locations are identified and posted. If you are unsure about your location, please contact me immediately. Please come see me after this. I would love to stay here and provide some time for you to ask me any questions if you do have them, because I want to make sure that you feel comfortable in these procedures and that you know them like the back of your hand. We will have at least 2 tornado drills annually. We want to make sure that students understand why we do this and understand the urgency of it. And so this is going to be something that we need your support as staff members and teachers to help really drive the purpose for this with our students. Now, we will make sure that we are keeping up again with the weather and that we are alerting you as we receive any updates. We will have that pre-recorded message for families that will be sent out immediately. And then, of course, we're going to make sure to review this plan annually just to make sure that we don't have anything that we could possibly improve. Now, being in Texas, I know you're probably like, okay, when are we ever going to have a tornado? Although you may be right that we may not have a tornado very frequently, we need to know the proper procedures for this. And so we'll be working together with the Transportation Department and National Weather Service as we're going into this as well. So similarly to earlier, okay, if we have an intruder on campus, and even more so, a shooter on campus, we're going to be calling the SRP code for lockdown. You will get the E3 app immediately. You will not hear it over the intercom, especially if they are on our campus. It is highly recommended and highly mandated that you lock lights out of sight. Okay, you want to make sure that you already have an idea of where students are going to be that is away from windows and out of sight completely. So if you have not already thought about that, please take that into consideration. And if you need suggestions from us as administration, I would be more than happy to come into your classroom and recommend spots for your students to remain. If there is any direct contact, meaning if the intruder, if the shooter does enter the room, we are going to use the run, hide, fight, and wait for law enforcement. We're going to use that protocol. And again, we'll go over that more so in the EOP training. And we're going to go really in depth into that. So that way, you know what preventative steps you can take. So we will make sure, again, that we call 911 immediately as soon as we are aware of an intruder on campus. We do have somebody that is appointed to call. And so it is incredibly important that you follow those safety procedures from the EOP. We are going to have very frequent lockdown drills, especially knowing that our campus is in a higher crime area. It is incredibly important that we do this. We're going to establish the practice and the use of the safety app. Again, every campus has a safety app. E3 is the one that we are utilizing this year, which is why, again, bringing back the previous point that I said, it is important that you have it both on your phone and on your desktop. And again, if you have any questions about it, if you have any technology issues, with downloading the app, please let us know immediately and we will assist you. We have already composed a campus threat assessment team. We actually have a campus crisis team that has specific roles appointed to them. So that way we know how to not only efficiently go through the procedure, but as quick as possible. Because when you have a crisis that's as imminent as this, you need to make sure that you're acting quickly. We're going to make sure to train you again very in depth, especially with this. I know that this can be a very emotionally triggering topic for some people, and we will make sure that you feel confident in knowing the steps you can take. And then, of course, we do have a reunification plan already pre-written that we will send out to parents in case of that. So, of course, this is one where we have to work with a lot of outside services such as law enforcement, our safety coordinator or security officer. We're going to work together as a district crisis response team. We'll be working with aftercare staff, and we'll even work with TEA for incident reporting. And so for the last one, I promise I'm almost done. It's for loss of electricity. So although this is not a problem that happens frequently, we do have to keep in consideration that it could. So we do have backup lighting on our campus that we will be using. We have battery powered lighting that is actually stored within the janitor closet. So our lovely custodial staff will be responsible for helping distribute that lighting to you, and so that way we are able to have that. Teachers are going to be taking attendance manually, so the front office will be distributing manual, traditional style attendance sheets that you will fill out. If you do have any students that are missing at the time of the electricity loss or the power outage, you need to make sure that you are communicating that within the E3 app as well. we're going to make sure on our end to contact the utility company right away. We're going to decide whether, okay, we might be able to restore the power and continue instruction, or no, we need to go ahead and have early dismissal processes. And so not only will we be determining what the proper procedure is to follow, but we'll be communicating that with parents as well. So again, please refrain from communicating with parents. Please tell them to wait patiently, and that administration will be sending out further information in a short period of time. So we will be calling our utility provider. We will be informing you guys either in person or in Google Chat due to the lack of the intercom access. And then we will be working together to communicate with parents. So again, just to ensure that communication's consistent, we do ask you to refrain from any direct communication with the parents. If they do have questions, please feel free to give them my email. As we would really like to make sure that we are answering their questions. So we will make sure that we have those battery powered lighting options and that they're stored properly. We're going to make sure we have those printed copies of class rosters for all of you. We're going to make sure we have the automated messages set up and that we have a very direct line of communication with the utility company in case this does happen. And so that is one thing that we will do beforehand to help us prepare. And so that pretty much sums up everything that we're going over today. So remember, even though crises may look very different, we know that we have to act immediately. We know that we have to use the SRP terminology. We're going to use our E3 app. We're going to use communication, and we're going to use a lot of network of partners to help us with this. This is not something that we do alone. So please, if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to help guide you through these processes. We are going to have more in-depth training on the procedures, especially in terms of shooter training and the SRP specific terminology training. So if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you for your time today.